All right, hey everyone. Thank you for the people who are dialing in. Thank you for the people who made it out here. Very happy to welcome you again to another Salesforce Marketer User Group ATX. That's the full official name. And today at the DESelect office, we're joined by our friends from Orange Digital. I'm going to have a presentation by Rodrigo. So on the calendar, just a quick, well, we've had a welcome here for like about the last half an hour. As always, we have snacks and beverages. This time we also have a magnificent amount of swag, just hordes of swag from previous events and the favors that Gilda Hilaire bestows on us. For those who don't know, Gilda Hilaire is somewhat of a Salesforce Marketer User Group. Yeah, how can I say it? Hero. Um, so I'm just going to do very quick opening remarks. I'm going to pass the word to the star of today's show. So my name is Anthony. I'm the user group leader. I also happen to be the CEO and co-founder of this company called DESelect. What is DESelect? I'm going to tell you more about that in a second. First, community group background. So Trailhead community was inspired from the early days. We have a user group page. I think most people here know this, but if you aren't registered on the page, I would recommend you to do so because you get automatically notified of future events. There's also a discussion group that is a separate thing that has to be joined separately. Don't ask me why, it's just how it is. And there you can ask questions, and it's also where I'll be sharing, if available, presentations and links to things like the recording, which we will put on YouTube later. So now, very quickly, who we are at DESelect. So DESelect, we're a software company. We're also a Salesforce partner available on AppExchange, and we have a marketing optimization platform, or MOP. It connects to your Salesforce environment, your Salesforce Marketing Cloud environment. It allows you to drive more revenue while gaining massive amounts of efficiency in your marketing organization, and we do that through marketing segmentation, send frequency optimization, and search. And 2 out of 3 of those products, they are fully free or have a free version too. So you can check those out on AppExchange. We work typically with mid-market and enterprise customers like Volvo, Morgan Stanley, Cornell University. Yeah, and so obviously we have an office here in Austin. We also have an office in Belgium, in case you were wondering where that accent is from. I'm from Belgium originally. So with that said, we can go into a presentation today, which will be about AMPScript, and we'll have somewhat of an introduction, I believe. And then I also said we're going to have a lot of memes, which I got very excited about. And then we're going to see how we can use AMPScript to configure background images. So I'm going to pass the word to you, Rodrigo.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Also, thank you, Anthony, for having us in behalf of Orange Digital. We're very happy to be here. Today, I want to start talking about who we are. We are called Orange Digital. We are a Mexican partner based in Mexico. We specialize in materializing, executing, and optimizing organizations' digital strategies utilizing Marketing Cloud. We hold more than 95 certifications in our team, and we specialize heavily in Marketing Cloud, right? We have Marketing Cloud engagement, Marketing Cloud account engagement, which was called Pardot before. We're also specializing in Data Cloud, so that's part of what we do. We've also had 2 times been winners of the Partner Innovation Award from Salesforce. 2 years in a row. We expect it to become the 3rd time in a row this year, but we're working on that. And for it, woo, it was because of our innovative use of Salesforce Customer 360, right? How we handle everything from the managed service provider. A little of how we work and how is our services, which you can see on the screen. We use the managed services, sorry for my English, managed services, which we call MSP, which is we don't handle only the implementation like every other partner works. We stay with our client as the right hand in marketing automation. We work in discovery sessions, understanding what they need. We handle the strategy of everything from their instances. We do a roadmap of the activities we need to hold, and we handle everything from their KPI perspectives. right? We plan what they need to do, we design the solution, we configure everything inside the platform, and we enable that. Once it's on, we start revising or checking the optimization with the data that we have. Uh, I've been talking a lot, but my name is Rodrigo Santander. I'm a solution architect currently working for Orange Digital. I'm also from Mexico City. Traveled here to the beautiful city of Austin. Thank you for having us today. I have the whole Pokemon badges of Marketing Cloud, which you can see here. Um, um, they are now releasing new certifications, so my work for 2025 is going to be a good one. And I'm also an email geek, right? What does this mean? That I love email. You're going to see it across the presentation. It's the email life takes you. You don't take the email life. That's a saying that goes for everyone that works in email. So I've been working on digital marketing for more than 14 years. In my afterlife, in my life before this one, I was a creative director, and I used user experience, user interfaces, websites, creative concepts, everything like that, and switched to Marketing Cloud and started working with that. Today, we're going to be talking about AMPScript, this beautiful language in Marketing Cloud, and how it can help us create many different things that utilizes personalization across different channels. We're also going to talk about a methodology I created, obviously in Marketing Cloud, to create background images in email, a very easy way, but with a very large explanation. So bear with me, we're gonna go through all that. This is a little of what we're gonna be seeing today. What is the language, what is its syntax and functions, and the methodology I'm gonna talk about later. So how do we do personalization in Marketing Cloud today? We can see a message like this. It says, hello member, you're gonna love this special promotion we have only for you. And I don't know how they say that it is a promotion only for me because they don't even have my name. They don't know. I can't see anything that says, hey, Rodrigo, you're in there. And we can do so much better, right? We can start with something very simple, very easy. That is, hello, Rodrigo, you're going to love this special promotion we have only for you. We could go all the way down and say, perhaps this is an email of Olipop, and Olipop has different flavors, and they have the transactional data of Rodrigo that has bought a lot of the Barbie flavor, and only that information to me, right? So we can go all the way around to creating better personalization across each and every one of those messages. So how do we do that in Marketing Cloud? We're going to do that with AMPScript. I'm not going to bore you with the Salesforce description of the language, but I'm going to help you bring a TLDR explanation of what this is. That person is me, we can see in the meme, is personalization in Marketing Cloud. It's very simple to do with this language that exists, that is AMPScript, right? AMPScript is a coding language that is unique to Marketing Cloud engagement that helps us create personalization. It can integrate your data that you have in different databases, in different data extensions, and make it work in different channels. It can be email, SMS, push notifications, WhatsApp messages, cloud pages, everywhere. If you can send that information to a user, you can personalize that information with the databases that you hold. AMPScript, like this beautiful cat, also allows us to extend Marketing Cloud functionality beyond its out-of-the-box capabilities. What this means is that we can develop code and custom solutions that are going to be tailored to your own specific needs and requirements. We can, Marketing Cloud, the moment you buy it, you can do beautiful stuff with drag and drop, you can do stuff with the user interface, but there are things that need a lot of code in order to work. And the thing is, Marketing Cloud is a very powerful tool and will allow us to do a lot of things. Like my assistants here tell me that You can add personalization, like what we saw. Hello, Rodrigo. You can also create dynamic content. We can go back to the example of Olipop. Perhaps Anthony likes better the root beer flavor, and I like more the Barbie flavor, perhaps. And each one of us is going to have a different email with a different product anytime, right? We can also search for content that is external to your end resource. Perhaps you send an email with that extension and you need information from another data extension, and you need to cross those two data extensions in order to bring information. You can do something like that. And you can also bring complex functions that combine different languages. You can combine AMPScript with GTL. You can combine AMPScript with SSJS. Don't ask me how, because I don't have that level of information, but it's really possible. It's something we can do. We can combine different types of languages to create more complex stuff. So I want to start showing you how those AMPScript look like inside the platform. Every time I talk about AMPScript with the people I work with, I like to tell them that the variables we are going to work in AMPScript are like a Ziploc bag, right? You can put or store anything you want inside that Ziploc bag. It can be a sandwich, it can be a hamburger, it can be ham, it can be anything you want, right? So we're going to create a variable like what you can see in the below section of the slide. We create var at Ziploc bag, but this Ziploc bag right now is completely empty. We're going to add information to that Ziploc bag. We're going to create set at Ziploc bag, and we're going to add a sandwich inside our bag. So right now we have a sandwich that is very handfully cared for, but we want to do something with that sandwich, right? What we're going to do is we're going to create a function that allows us to do an action with that something. So if we created a function that we'll call eat, we're going to eat that Ziploc bag, and our friendly neighbor Green Hulk is Bruce Banner is going to help us eat that sandwich for us, right? So it's a very simple explanation of what AMPScript is written, but it helps us understand the language a little better. How do we write AMPScript in each and every one of those assets, right? You can write it in an email, you can write it in a WhatsApp, you can write it on an SMS or on a cloud page, and you're going to have three different ways in order to write it down. We have a code block, a tag-based syntax, or an inline AMPScript. But let's see how this code works in action. For that, I'm going to switch a little in programs. So what we're looking at right now is a block of code, right? Where we are going to have the first one I was talking about, an AMPScript code block, which will always be inside these brackets. We start with the double percent signs and a bracket, and it's going to always close again with the brackets and the percentage signs. Everything that goes inside this code is going to be the AMPScript we want to create. We want to call it that way if we have different multiple lines of code that we need to use, right? There is another solution that is going to be the tag-based syntax, which you can view right around here. This is going to work only on email and on cloud pages because they are completely HTML. But what you can see is that we're calling a script for those that are developers around here. This is a script tag in HTML. And what we need to do is call these attributes called run at server, language AMPScript, and everything we add inside is going to be the code we want to build. Lastly, we can also call inside any line of code an inline AMPScript solution. For example, here we have a paragraph, and inside this paragraph we say hello, and we call one of our functions. In this case, the function B, what it does is it prints the information of that Ziploc bag we were calling earlier, right? So we create in this first part, we create a variable called points, and now we set the information of points to 300. Next inside this other block, we're going to create a new variable called name, and we're going to set the name to Brandy. In the last part, we're going to print the value of the name, and we're going to print the value of the points. So that it says, hello Brandy, you got 300 points in your Starbucks card. Well, let's see how this works inside Marketing Cloud. Okay, let me see how I can show you. There it goes. So here we are in Marketing Cloud. This is an email, and inside this email I have this code, which I've shown you before. And what you can see is that the moment we are building email, this email, let me add these people. Yeah, we're not gonna look at anything until we go to preview and test, right? So we go to preview and test, we select an user. It's very important that we select a subscriber in order for AMPScript to work. For what we're gonna be seeing here is that it works, right? It says, hello Brandy, you got 300 points on your Starbucks card. So hopefully Brandy can go for her coffee right now. So what we have in here is the information being called directly from my code, right? So I can apply source formatting here and see how each and every one of those blocks is doing something. We could go a very different route once we learn this, and we can start creating functions. This code I'm showing you right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna call a first name and a last name. Our first name is going to be Astro, and the second name is going to be Nomical, which is our favorite mascot in Salesforce. And what we're going to do with it is we're going to start creating 3 different functions that will help us with the traditional things that every marketer needs to do in order to help with emails. The first one will be, maybe I want to have the name of Astro and the last name Nomical in the same place, right? I want to have the first name and the last name printed together. We're going to do that with our very friend called concat. This function will allow us to define everything we want separated by commas, and anything we have added here is going to be concatenated inside a string. So in this moment, what I'm adding is the name of Astro and the last name, which will be Nomical. I'm also adding here a string of code. What we'll say is that it will add a space inside these characters, right? So if we didn't have this, what will happen is that we'll say astronomical altogether. So let's see how this works. I'm going to go again to Marketing Cloud, and if I ditch that space right here, what we're gonna look at once I start the preview and test is that we're gonna see that the name and the last name are there, but we can see a separation between them, right? So what we wanna do inside this concatenation is add a little bit of more code in order to add this string of code with a separation. And once we preview and test this code, what we'll look at is add the name, the separation, and the last name, right? So this is very, very useful when we have different information in our data extensions and we want to start building a more complex line of data. What else can we do? Let's suppose that the name Astro is written very poorly, right? Maybe Astro got a bad night of sleep and didn't write his name well. Maybe he wrote it like this because he was very, very sleepy. No? And what we want to do is want to help him in order that his name is written just like that. We can do that. There are many forums where people simply misspell their name or get mistakes along the way. And what we're going to do is going to use this function called proper case. That what it does, it essentially takes every single word from the line and it's going to always start with an uppercase and follow up with lower cases, right? So if I have this last name Astro and I call the first name inside this function called proper case, what it's going to do is going to build the name in the correct order, right? So let us see how that works out. Let me pull this information right here, go to preview and test, and we see how the name is built correctly. But let's suppose that we don't want it to be like a sentence. Maybe we want to be all lower cases because it's the name of a product or something different. We can do that by using lowercase. If we change the function to become lowercase, this Astro is going to be built as this. Okay, so let's see how this works out. I'm going to switch the code right here, and I'm going to go again to preview and test. And here we see how this text changes completely to help us do something that is a little bit of design edition, right, inside the content of our message. So these little functions are a very basic thing of AMPScript, but it's something that every marketer should know in order to get better results with their content in each and every asset inside Marketing Cloud. We can go from simple to a little more complex. Let's see how this could work out. Let's suppose I have the information from different clients. We're going to see this data extension right here. And this data extension holds all the characters from Salesforce, right? We have Randy, we have Astro, we have Cody, and all of them really want to go to different places across the world. And they went to their favorite airline and bought a lot of tickets, right? So in this part, what I can see is that each and every one of them, as you can see, the first column is called identifier. And if I go to this place, I can see that Brandy perhaps is the color yellow. And Brandy is identified as the number 1111. And if we go to the reservations, Brandy bought two different tickets. The first ticket, she went to this place, and the second ticket, she went to this place. So each and every one of them bought different kinds of tickets. For starters, Astro bought 5 different ones, and Cody brought 1, and Jeannie brought 4, and Ruth brought 2. What we want to do with this information is we want to build a table. This table, let me see if I can move this. Oh yeah, I can move it. That's sorry for the delay. But what I want to do is basically this. I want to create an HTML table that holds all the information from the reservation of each and one of these users, but I don't want to do it each and every time for each and every user manually, right? I want to be able to call the information to the data extensions, cross that information, and make AMPScript do all the heavy work for me. So let's say that, for example, Jeannie has 5 different reservations, and if I switch to Cody, which only has 1, will build all that code exactly for me the way I want it to. So this way, no matter how many reservations these characters have, they're going to always have a table built exactly for them. So how does this work out? We can see that inside this block of code, we have an HTML table that holds the titles of the reservation code, origin, and destination. But here, we are calling a new function that is called content block by ID. Inside Marketing Cloud, each and every content block that we create is going to have an ID. So if I go and check, for starters, one content block that I created, I can see that it holds an identifier right here that we can copy and we can call anywhere we want, right? So what I'm doing in this AMPScript block of code, which is right here, let me pass to this process table that I have right now here. What I'm doing here is we're going to use a new function called lookup rows. Lookup rows is going to go to this data extension, which is the data extension that holds the information that I have around here. this one, and it's going to carry the identifier. It's going to look the identifier in both sides, and it's going to check how many times that person appears in the second data extension. The next thing we're going to do is make a loop in programming that is going to go from, let's say, for starters, if Randy has 2, it's going to tell me, okay, I found 2 different lines of code in that data extension. So now I want you to loop across these 2 different moments. So I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to add a number, and I'm going to pass to the second one, and that until I finish that number, right? So inside that loop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create different variables for the reservation code, for the origin city, and for the destination city. And besides, we're going to create the HTML table for each and every one of those, and we're going to call the reservation code, we're going to call the origin city, and we're going to call the destination city. And every time it finds a different line, for example, here, this is going to be one line, this is going to be the second, this is going to be the third and the fourth. Anyone is going to become a line of code in my email, right? So I have to move my screen a little in order for you to see it, but let me find it here. And now I can enter here. And this is exactly what you're looking at, right? So what you see here is that, for example, RYU in the data extension, which will be this one, has 2 different travels, and what is showing me is exactly that, right? So each and every one of them is going to hold a different information. I'm simplifying the process of creating dynamic content, which will make me do each and every one of those tables, save it as a content block, and then creating the rules across the dynamic content block in order to make it work, right? So this is a very simple introduction to what the AMPScript language works. So I'm going to switch back again to my presentation. But I want to show you something I created when I had an epiphany the other day about what we can do in order to make emails simpler, faster, and easier across. How many times have they asked you to send an image as an email? One does not simply send an all image email because it has a lot of issues. All image emails have a lot of drawbacks, especially if you if you've received an email in Outlook. You have seen something like what I'm showing you here, right? Outlook tends to block every image that you send to them, and you won't be seeing anything across that email. So if you send a huge picture, if you send a postcard, if you send a design that worked very well in Facebook, well, it won't work well in your email, and you'll see something like what you see here. What happens if we craft our mails to have 70% code and 30% images, and that code will allow us to make our email work across everywhere, right? So if Outlook blocks our email, we're still going to be able to see the titles, the paragraphs, the buttons, the call to actions, even the alternative text that we add to our images in order to make them more accessible. Everything is going to be viewable, which won't happen at all if we have an only image made email, right? It also won't be searchable across our email client. For starters, if I open my Outlook app in my smartphone, I could look out for a special promotion that I received 2 or 3 days ago. And if I have an image email, that won't be possible. And it's very difficult to edit. If someone has worked with an agency, you know that asking something so simple as to change the text of a call to action is going to take you from half an hour to even days, depending of the processes you have. If you have a call to action that is done entirely in code, You simply open the code, change the text, and you're done with it. So we need to start working with this 730 rule in order to our emails to be more effective. And background images in email can help us a lot. How does background images in email look? They are so hot right now, is the truth, but they are very hard to do. Marketing Cloud doesn't have a native way to add background images on the content blocks. There are other tools that do it, but they don't do it so well. And you need to solve it with custom manual HTML and CSS code.
Would you maybe mind minimizing the FND window? Yeah.
This
awesome.
one. Ah, perfect. I didn't know how you do that. Thank you. That's it. So these are examples of how background images are viewed, right? We have these emails that are not mine. I found it online, but what we can see here is that the visual goes along the entire email or along the entire hero content. And on top of that image, we have a logo, we have a live text, which is the main entrance of the email. We may have call to actions, we may have different information that we have inside. And if we do this with code, what it means is that, for example, the mail in the center is a mail that is being watched on a smartphone, and that information is going to be responsive. So we can lose a lot of things if this were only an image. So adding a background image have a lot of things that you have to take into consideration, but it's a very wonderful tool to make emails appear very more designed, to appear more complex and more appealing for users in order to do a conversion. Let's see how it works. This is the mail that we're going to create today. I don't work for the Van Gogh Museum, but it's an email that I really like to design in order to find how this works, especially because Van Gogh paintings are very unique, right? For what we need is the image in the background, the full image that we're going to need, the size of that image and the width and height in pixels, and a layout in Marketing Cloud that has this information in order for us to use it to put it on top of this background image. To understand how this methodology works, we are going to use a very specific type of format that is called VML. For everyone who has worked with design elements, you know that vector graphics are those things that allow us to reshape them, change their size anytime, and they will never lose their quality, right? Because they are mathematical creations. So before SVG, which is the main format that works everywhere in the web, what existed, there was another format called VML. VML was the proposal to create this format, this vector format graphics for the world, but SVG came to the market, they started going everywhere, and Microsoft said, damn, I'm going to use my information somewhere, and it pushed it in top of Microsoft Word. So if you open Word, if you open PowerPoint, if you open even Excel, and you add a triangle, a circle, you add a text that has different like styles, everything is going to be VML defined, okay? This is something that is going to work for us because Outlook has a lot of problems, a lot of issues. It's my enemy, I will say, because they always have different things that don't understand. But this VML is going to help us make background images work across everywhere. CSS styles, which are the code that defines the styles of every HTML, are half the solution. It's going to make us make this work in Gmail and Yahoo, but it's not going to make us work on Outlook. So what we're seeing here is how the table is made, right? So every email is made through tables, HTML tables. And what we look here is we have a table, we have a row. Inside the row, we have a column, which is going to be the placeholder of all our elements. And inside, we have our content. In this column, what we usually add is the CSS to add the URL of our background image and a color that will work as if the image doesn't work, right? But this doesn't solve the problem that Outlook doesn't understand this. If we send an email with this functionality in Outlook, it will appear blank or it will appear without the image. That's where VML is going to help us really do the work, okay? Inside the column that we have right here, we're going to add a different element, which is VML, to trap our content inside and help Outlook understand this bit of code, which is in the blue, so that it will always appear inside each and every one of the Outlook versions. This sounds very difficult, and it is, but we're gonna make it easy, okay? I promise it will be easy. The content inside this part is going to be a drag and drop creation inside Marketing Cloud. We don't need to know HTML in order to create it. In the past, it had to be done directly as an HTML element, and you need to have an HTML developer, an email developer, in order to create something like that. But you're going to need almost no code knowledge required when we finish this session. Let's see how this works. Let me go again here. And what we're looking at right now is that this code that is exactly what we were showing, right? We have a table, we have a row, and we have a column inside. Inside this, we have the VML, which is all this code that we see here, and it's going to open, it's going to close, and it's going to close the table. So the very basic stuff that we saw that was right around here is what we're showing in the code. So what we need in order to make it work, if we were thinking about the first one, this is the line of code that makes it happen. We have a column, and inside this column, we're going to add CSS and HTML attributes that are the background image that is going to be called as a background HTML element and as a CSS background element too. Next, we're going to call a color, a background color that will work if an email client doesn't have the ability to show this image. It's going to show the color that we put here, okay? And we're going to add a width and a height in order for our image to always appear. So if we have this email, which will be this one, we want the email to be 900 pixels height and 600 pixels width. So we need to have this across the column, so the column has that exact size. Then on the CSS, we're going to call different elements that you can see here that are going to help us position that image on the very center of our element and to cover the entire area so that nothing has no image inside, okay? We're going to position that image at the center, we're going to cover it, and we're going to ask it not to repeat that image so that it doesn't have a mosaic effect. And that will be all if we only wanted to send this email to Gmail or to Yahoo, for starters. But we want to make it work in Outlook too. So this code that you can see here, that is within a conditional, this is a conditional that will only work when Outlook is around. What this means is, hey, are you Outlook? Then open this conditional and understand what is, or interpret what is inside. So what we have here is an image, a rectangle, which is the vector part of this work, and which will work as a mask for that image, right? So we're going to call the image, and then we're going to call a mask that has the exact same size that we want our email to have. So if here we had a height of 900 and a width of 600, we're going to have to convert that information to points. Each and every client understands this as pixels, but Outlook doesn't have the same resources around. So we need to transform or convert this value and multiply it by 0.75 in order to get the points. Okay, what we see here is the height is 900 and here the height is 675 and the width is 600 and here the width is going to be 450. So this conversion, which will allow us, so Outlook understands where in the world it has to position this mask so that the image appears. If we do it here, if we put pixels, because I don't care what Rodrigo says, this will break. Okay, the mask will go bigger and your mail will break completely. So please bear with me, understand that this is something that has to be done, and we'll have to put the whole information of the size and width in the image. As you can see here, we have the width and height on the image, and we're going to put it again on our mask. This rectangle will say again the width and the height. And then we're going to add to the mask the color that we added right here in order to, if the image breaks or the image fails to load, or if it's too big to load, the first thing we're going to see is this color. Okay, and inside everything that we see here, this is the opening tag of the VML, and this is the closing tag of the VML. Inside this very cool Spanish thing I left here by mistake, you'll see here that I have another AMPScript code that will call a content block. Okay, this content block has been created directly in Marketing Cloud. If we go through our email, we're going to see, let me open it. Let me see that this is the one. Yeah. So I went inside Marketing Cloud and I had my design and I added a layout. This is a layout that allows me to add different content blocks inside Marketing Cloud, where I added the brand of the Van Gogh Museum, I added the title, Welcome to the Van Gogh Museum, and I added a call to action, right? So all this information is in a layout that I then saved right here. You can see that this block is called content block main content, and then I saved it, and when I saved it, I went back, go to my content blocks folder, and took this identifier with me, right? So I copy that ID and I paste it right here, so that what it's going to do is going to show us something like this. What we see in the second block is exactly that. You can see that inside Marketing Cloud, we're already seeing the image because it's hard-coded, right? So this place, everything we see here, this column of code of the table is showing us this image, but we can see the block that is inside because we're calling it directly with AMPScript. So if you go to preview and test, and we add a subscriber, the AMPScript will work, and what we're going to be looking at is the background image, and on top we're going to have the text, we're going to have the button, and the button even will work. Okay, so thanks for coming. Now we still have something left to present, but this is what we're going to do, right? If we want to change the content block, we can go to another content block I created that has a different layout. This one has 3 columns in the part of the back, and this is responsive. So if we grab the ID of this block, let's say we copy this one and we go back to our email, and edit the text in our code to change this content block by ID. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna go to preview and test, and it's gonna show me this new version. Okay, so every single layout, every single content block we want to call is going to be available for us in this form, even if it's responsive, if it has 1, 2, 3 columns, if we did it with free form, if we did it with text, everything is going to be something we can use in order to make it work. But this is still a lot of code. This is still something that you have to manually do, right? So I had an epiphany the other day and started refactoring everything from scratch, and went from this code to this code. And we're seeing a lot of changes here. Basically, what I did is create a lot of variables here in AMPScript, so that the only thing you need to change every time you're going to use it is you're going to change the width and the height of the image and the content block that you wish to use, and AMPScript is going to do the multiplication for us. The width is going to be multiplied by 0.75. The height is going to do the same. We're going to define the color. We're going to define the URL of our image, and we're going to call the content block right here. Everything that you see in the bottom part is the exact same code that we had before, but now when I want to call the background, we're going to call the URL with AMPScript. When we want to call the color, we're gonna call it back with AMPScript, and that's going to be on the table, and that's going to be also on the VML. So while we're doing this is saving a lot of time in code, saving a lot of time, because the only thing you need to understand is that you have to change the values in the part of the AMPScript code. Okay, so the moment I take this information and I go to create an email, and this email has this code right here, I'm going to preview and test this code, and it's going to work. It's going to work, and there are little caveats that we need to understand in order to make it work flawlessly, but it's always going to be something we have to test, right? Let me switch to the slides again. And what happens when you create a layout inside Marketing Cloud? These spacings, or what we call paddings or margins inside each and every content block, is created inside the platform. Okay, so if we go to Marketing Cloud and we add a layout, for example, this one, and we want this layout to have a padding, we always add it here, right? I can add 30 pixels here, and it will give me this space that is being created in this email. You can see, if I go here, we can see a space on the left, a space on the right, on the top and on the bottom. Little problem of Outlook, as always, it doesn't always understand what we want. If we just let it how it is, it won't show the padding when it goes to Outlook. So we need to add another element to the VML, which is this line of code that we see here. This text box, what we'll do is that we'll add a little space inside the mask that we created, and it will create that padding for us. But we have to understand that it changes a little from how it works across web browsers on people who work for the web, and how it works with VML. In CSS, we always going to create the values in top, right, bottom, and left, like if we was a clock. But with VML, we're going to start with left, top, right, and bottom. It's going to be a little weird, but this is the way that we have to write it. I left this part not without certain purpose, so you can do something later when you start trying something like this. but essentially it's all you need to change in order to make this work. The great thing about this is that it will work in Gmail, it will work in Yahoo, it will work in Outlook, and each and every version, be it desktop, be it mobile, be it dark mode, is going to work out. There is something else that we need to understand, is that when the text goes to a client that has dark mode, the text, if we have a light background and a white text, the text is going to become black and the background is going to change again. The color inversion is going to switch. But what happens if we have an image in the part of the back? This white text is going to become dark, and this dark text on a dark background is not going to work, right? So we need to add a little bit more of code in order to make this work. The last part is this one. What we see here are two different parts of CSS. The first one is going to be specifically for Outlook, and the second part is going to be for every email client that understands a media query that's called prefers color scheme. That essentially what it says is, are you a dark mode email client? Then you can use this. Okay, so if we see this text, this is a white text, and when the color inversion goes, it's going to become black. So what we tell it is, for Outlook, we create a class that is called keep white. It can be called anything, but what it does is uses Outlook specific attributes to create a gradient from white to white and gives it a color of white, absolute white, this text, and then it's going to give it a color black, and it's going to tell it, you're a white text, but instead you're going to become a black text, so that when you become a dark mode color, you're a dark text that becomes white. It's a little confusing, but what we're telling it is to confuse the email client and tell it that instead of a white text, it's a black text, so that this black text becomes a white text when it's on dark mode. Okay, so both of those do the exact same thing, but do it for different email clients. So when we use those things together and we add this class to each and every text that we have, what we're going to be able to see is that, let me show you, I have to move a little my screen. Shucks, I'm going to have to, well, I won't be able to show you that one, but I can show it to you right here. You need to always test this code, right? Because it works today, but it may not work tomorrow. Email clients are always changing what they can or can't do. And tomorrow it may not work at all, and we'll have to find another way to make it work. But that is the life of email clients. The thing is that this methodology works great across all email clients, even Outlook. We're seeing here versions of Outlook when it has Zoom, Outlook on dark mode, Outlook on Mac, Outlook on PC, Outlook everywhere, and everywhere we can see the image. If you look out for different tutorials out there, this won't be shown as possible, but right now it's totally doable. Okay, so thank you very much for coming here. I'll see if there's any questions that need to be answered, and if not, thank you very much for your time. This is my LinkedIn if you want to follow me, and I don't know if there is any questions that you would like to answer. If not, to pass the baton to Anthony.
Yeah. Let's see. Put this here just for a second. So I actually have one question. If people on the call have questions too, feel free to just speak up. We're a small enough group. We should normally be able to hear you. If you don't respond, it means there's something wrong with our sound. In that case, put it in the chat. My question was, it has to do with email deliverability. Large images or a lot of images in email sometimes get flagged by on the receiving side by firewalls and so on. And I was wondering how that works out for this technique.
Yeah, the images that will be flagged are if your email is not done entirely in images. If it doesn't have text, then that's a flag. But if you have an image, there is a very big size in pixels that you have to break so that Outlook says you can pass. So an image like what I showed doesn't have that problem. But if you talk about megabytes, you talk about the size of the kilobytes that I don't know how to say in Spanish, in English, the weight of the image, that is going to be an issue. The recommendation is that it doesn't weigh more than 200 kilobytes.
Image size, I think.
Yeah. So that there are very good compressors. For example, compressor IO, which works wonders. If you use, for example, if you use only JPEGs instead of PNGs, you can squish. And what we'll do is that you bring the image here, and it will downsize that image entirely for you to work, right? So first you have to export it for the web from every program you use, Photoshop, for example, and then you can go to one of these compressors in order to make it even smaller so that it doesn't have this problem of the 200 kilobytes.
All right. Awesome. Very cool. There may be a question in the chat.
Let me see. Thank you very much. You explained it very well. Thank you, Adrian. So I think I'll pass the button to you.
Awesome.
I changed the presentation, sorry. So here you go.
Yeah, thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, and by the way, really nice presentation. I think this is the clearest and the funniest explanation I've ever seen of AMPScript. Like 100, not over exaggerating. Very accessible too. Awesome. So just some closing remarks. We had Q&A. So just so you know, oh, this is outdated. My bad. The next event will follow. It will probably be in November. Again, make sure you join our page, which has the updates. You'll get them via email on next events. Join the group. That's where I'll post the video slides. Can we share the slides?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great, fantastic. We'll share the slides too. I saw people take pictures. If you can share them with me, I'll share them with everyone. That'd be awesome. And also, I know everyone loves to fill in surveys. I love to fill in surveys all day long. That's what I know. So there will be a little survey just automatically that you get. I do read the survey responses. So if you have suggestions for topics, I heard a great suggestion for preference pages. So that's maybe something if I can find a speaker for that. I'm not an expert on it, I will admit, but if I can find a speaker on it, I'll definitely do that. And we can definitely talk about it now too, because we have about half an hour more. And then don't forget your swag bag. We've been collecting so much swag at past events and getting them from Salesforce. So t-shirts, socks, brandies, things to light up your face, bags, flyers, stickers, and some more stickers, and even a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's all in the bags. And with that said, I think we are done for today. So thank you. And of course, the people here, feel free to stick around for a little bit, have a snack, have a drink. And for the ones on the call, thank you for joining in, and hope to see you at the next one.